And we're back. It is all eyes on Texas for the second week in a row, and the University of Texas hosting Georgia. And one of the grizzled veterans in that press box Saturday night is that man right there, Cedric Golden, who has covered a few major games at DKR. Ced, great to see you. Enjoy doing your podcast this week.
Man, we had a blast on the On Second Thought podcast, Paul, and man, I get you twice in 1 week. What a blessing that is.
Well, thank you. I know DKR has had some moments, but before we get to the field, what's the buildup like? What's it feel like having the University of Georgia showing up?
Man, the city's on fire. People are ready to see Texas against a team that might be able to beat them because Oklahoma didn't show up in Dallas, and the Longhorns are only one of four teams since Darrell Royal took over to win their first six games by double digits. So there haven't been any close games so far, and so when you look at what Georgia brings to the table, the pedigree. Kirby Smart's very familiar with Steve Sarkisian. They're both Saban assistants formerly. So it's a great chess match in that area. Plus, it's going to be a packed house, and Austin is going to be packed. They've got the Formula One showing up here too. So there's a lot of star power coming in Austin this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably one of the lucky ones who don't have to try to find a hotel room.
Yeah, very, very lucky. And if I'd been thinking I would have rented my house out, man, they're paying like $3,000 a night right now. And I don't live in a mansion like Paul Finebaum, but money is money, Paul.
So, anyway, let me think of the next question after
Hey, you're a
that.
lawyer. You heard. You
Okay,
heard, Paul.
so
Be honest.
let's talk about the Longhorns. And I made this point to you yesterday. And I was just looking for something wrong because it's hard to find anything wrong with. But the only thing I came up with was, and it's not their fault. They have not played a team in the league as Georgia. I mean, Michigan was a big moment, big house, all that. Oklahoma was a non-event last week in Dallas. So does that should that matter because they still play well and they can only play the schedule. It seemed like Michigan was a bigger deal at the time. Am I just being a curmudgeon here?
Yeah, you're being a curmudgeon,
Okay.
but you're an honest curmudgeon, and it's actually a good point because well they can only play who's put in front of them. It's not their fault that Oklahoma isn't very good, and it's not their fault that Michigan was a national champion last year, not this year. So they beat the opponents that have been put in front of them. Their most challenging games still lie ahead. Georgia coming up, they got to go to Arkansas. The last time they went to Arkansas was a nightmare in Sarkisian's first season. They got to go to College Station. The Aggies are unbeaten in conference, and so there are some really good teams that are coming in here, and that they're going to have to go see. And so this is the acid test. We find out if they're as good as they appear to be. I believe they are, Paul, but Steve Sarkisian says he's a boxing fan. He's a big Sugar Ray Leonard fan. And great fighters are always defined by a great opponent. So we'll see if this is that great opponent that Texas will have to overcome to get to where they want to go.
Said, as you've watched this team rack up win after win, is there any part of their game that if we're talking Sunday morning after a Georgia victory, you would remember saying, yeah, I was a little concerned about that? What would it be?
Quarterback. Quinn Ewers didn't play great against Oklahoma, and is offensively inept, but they have a pretty good defense. And he was back for the first time in almost a month after the abdominal strain. He missed 2 games and a bye week, and so he was rusty and a little bit jittery, in my opinion. So that's going to be interesting to see if Nazir Stackhouse and those guys, Malachi, can get after him, make him nervous. And when he has struggled, Paul, it's been early in games. It's been early in games. So if they can get him off to a good start, they'll be in good shape. But that's the one area of the Longhorns that I do wonder about. Is Quinn Ewers going to be back to being the playmaking Quinn Ewers that we've seen in the past?
Going back a week, the morning of the game, we were sitting there at the fair. I asked Sarkisian, what would it take for him to pull Ewers? Obviously, he was not crazy about the question, but he said the flow of the game, you adjust. I mean, it was a typical answer, but there was a moment when I'm like wondering, could it really happen? And I bring this up to you. We know who the backup is. If Ewers struggles in an intense environment and just doesn't look very good, do you think we could see Arch Manning?
Why not? Why not? If Quinn Ewers is struggling against elite competition and Texas is down 14-0 and Quinn can't hit the side of a barn and you have the progeny of the first family of SEC quarterbacks waiting in the wings, Arch Manning's not afraid of this moment. He's been groomed for a moment like this. So I don't think that Sarkisian would hesitate. He has the utmost confidence in Quinn Ewers, and it would take a lot for him to pull Quinn. And so Quinn would really have to be bad, I believe, for Steve to pull him. But if he does pull him, it's not going to change the play calling. I've written this before, Paul, that they are more vertical when Arch Manning's in the game because he's got a much bigger arm than Quinn Ewers, but and he runs better. So the upside is definitely in Arch's favor. The experience is in Quinn Ewers' favor, and Quinn Ewers is his background, his history tells us that he's usually at his best in games like this. So I don't anticipate him being pulled, even if he has a slow start in the first quarter like he did against OU.
So let's just talk a little bit broader about the Longhorns' first year. And I mean, you made some very unflattering comments to me about Texas and Nick Saban, and I won't ask you to repeat the fact that you said Texas pretty much sent Saban to the retirement home, but it has been pretty remarkable to watch this first season.
Truth hurts. Sometimes the truth hurts, Paul. The truth hurts. Do I want to take beat downs in Tuscaloosa at the hands of the Longhorns, or do I want to go do insurance commercials with Coach Prime? I'd rather do insurance commercials with Coach Prime. And Don Staley is great too in those commercials. So Coach Saban is the GOAT. He's the GOAT. But he saw this coming. He saw the money, the NIL, the political power of the Longhorns, and they are a real threat to the SEC way of life. Steve Sarkisian's walked these SEC streets. He knows how to win in this conference, and he came in here with swagger. They didn't knock on the door. They kicked it in. And there's a lot of football left to be played, Paul. But the Longhorns, I don't think, are going anywhere. And they have an SEC type roster. When they were struggling in his first season, when they went 5-7, he told us, he said, I got to get some big human beings to compete. And that was even before they even found out they were coming to SEC. So he's got those big human beings. He's got good skilled people. He's got Fort Knox, a blank checkbook for the transfer portal, and he's got a administration, a president, an AD, and a board of regents chairman who are behind him and will do whatever he says needs to be done to make sure that the Longhorns are among the elite in the SEC.
Cedric, finally, it's been amazing to watch, and I mean, there's no better front runners in the world than the University of Texas. They win, they win big. Their fans win big. The people that cover the team win big. But Ced, are you prepared for the possibility that Georgia might actually win this game? I mean, could Austin wake up Sunday morning in time for that F1 race? Would you be able to look at yourself?
Oh, I'm good looking. I'm always able to look at myself, Paul. I mean, look at me. I look good.
You're
But
great.
if the Longhorns lose the game, they just lost to the Georgia Bulldogs, who have won 2 of the last 3 championships. They just lost to Carson Beck, who's a first-round pick. So I won't be shocked. I'm picking the Horns to win 28-24. But I won't be shocked. I need you to tell me who you're picking. I know you told me on the podcast, but I need you to
Yeah,
tell
no,
the
listen.
good
I mean, I gave. I mean,
people
I'm with.
what you told me
I'm
on the
Horns.
podcast who you're picking. You said emphatically. But if they lose the game, all's not lost. It's a 12-team playoff.
Okay.
Texas is going to finish in the top 12 easily.
I mean, I'm horns down. I mean, I'm horns up. Excuse me.
I heard that. I heard that.
So you are picking a close game. I think that might be on the number, inside the number. Not that I pay attention to stuff like that, but yeah, I feel good about Texas. I'm not backing away from that.
Good, good. I just wanted you to tell the people that you're picking the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, listen.
The SEC
I mean,
are
I'm not one of these charlatans that would go on your podcast in Texas and pick one and then come here say, "Oh yeah, I'm going with the Dogs." I mean, there are people that do those kind of things.
Oh yeah, but there's such a thing called the internet, and there's more than 7 people listening to the pod, and word gets around pretty quick. So I wanted to give you a chance to be truthful, and I knew you were going to tell the truth, Paul. I knew you'd come through.
It pained me to have to say that, but I'm glad I did. Cedric Golden, one of our great friends. It was always fun. We'll see you very soon, Ced. You be well. Enjoy the weekend in Austin. We're taking a very, usual break here. More to come. Griff will be coming up in a few minutes. I can't wait to hear what he has to say to counter